The Women's Leadership Institute in the Auburn University College of Liberal Arts is pleased to present Leaders Educating Through Discussion. We hope you will take a moment after you watch our presentation to add your own voice to the dialogue on our website, auburn.edu/women's leadership.
Now, soon after my husband and I married, we moved back to his hometown of Fayette. And the population there is about 4,500. It's very rural and very small, and we still live there. So for the first few years that we moved back, no one even knew who I was. I was just, Bill's little wife. So I really didn't have an identity. But very early on, I decided I wanted to become involved in the community and in all types of service. And so I became one of the first women to serve as an officer in JC's, worked on the Arts Council with other icons of the community, worked with women's clubs. And at the same time, I was teaching at a little school that was very autocratic. Now, if a teacher became pregnant, she was forced to resign. Isn't that amazing? Once you started to show and wear maternity clothes in your pregnancy, they wanted you to go home. Now, I never could really figure that out, except maybe they didn't want the children to know you had sex, maybe. I don't know. But anyway, I had been teaching about 3 years. Now, in education, if you were hired for your 4th year, you gained tenure. So I found out the summer of my 3rd year that we were going to have a baby. We were very, very excited, but couldn't tell anyone. We couldn't tell our family. We couldn't tell our friends, because I knew that I wouldn't be able to gain my tenure. So we kept it quiet until school started back in August. I immediately went to talk to my principal, and I told him, I have great news. We're starting a family. I just wanted you to know now I'm planning to work all the way up until the baby's born in February. Well, as you can imagine, there was just kind of a quiet when nothing was said. And to which he replied, well, now, Miss Newton, you'll probably need to just take a leave. That's kind of the way we do things around here. And so my response was, I really appreciate your concern for my health, and you know how much I love my job, I love my students, I love my parents, and I just want you to know I'm going to be here every day working very hard. Well, you can imagine this caused quite a stir. Even had some board members visit with me and, encouraged me to go home and rest. That's what good mothers do. But I knew this was discriminatory, and deep inside I was upset about it. So I decided I was going to be strong and hold firm, and I was going to stay. But remember, I told you that I had saturated myself into my community. I had created a network of some very important community people. And so I could tell they were having second thoughts about this policy for fear that if they send me home, it would cause a commotion. Most of the young teachers in that school were from that community. So I know they thought, who is this woman from Auburn? Well, what is she trying to prove here? Just so that you'll know, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibited sexual discrimination in the workplace, but it was not until 1978 that it was amended by the Pregnancy Discrimination Act to ensure that women could not be fired because they were having a child. And this was the year that this was happening, 1978, that I was experiencing difficulties. But the end of the story, I did work up until 2 weeks before my son was born, and this ended this, quote, policy at our school. So what is our role as women? I think it's important for all of us along the way to stand up for what we know to be right and what we know to be moral. And even sometimes if it's unpleasant. But anyway, when all of that was going on, and I knew that things were being talked about behind closed doors, I came to work and I was pleasant, and I was positive, and I was smiling, and I was friendly, and I tried to kill all of them with kindness, and I worked with confidence and enthusiasm. And I think that's important as well, that as women, that we take a stand, but we can do it with grace, and we can do it with dignity, and we can do it with pleasantness. And I think that we just have to stay focused and goal-oriented. I think that we as women need to have that purpose that makes people wonder, you know, how does she do what she does? Now, as I told you, I'm a principal, so I work with parents every day, and I really see so many roles now changing. Men now are comfortable with women working. My father would not have been comfortable with my mom working. And I see that women are beginning to earn more, and I'm also seeing some stay-at-home dads. I mentioned that I have a new granddaughter, and I have been very interested in watching them, John and Julia's new parents. They share responsibilities with my granddaughter, Reagan. There are no specific roles with them where she's concerned. If she has a dirty diaper and she needs changing, my son John jumps right in there. He'll put her hair bows in, and I've even noticed him reading books on parenting. So I think now roles have really changed, and young parents are sharing the same goals. And so I'm proud of that, and I think it's, as young people, they have it right. I think they have it, they understand it better perhaps than we did. And even my son John was granted maternity leave to be home with his newborn. So I think it is our role too as women to help support legislation such as that we know that will support family leave policies. I mentioned that I have 3 sons, and I think also it is my role as a mom to teach my 3 boys how important it is to be respectful to women. I've taught them to open doors for women, to make women feel feminine, but I've also taught them to understand that the women that are going to be in their lives are going to be smart, they're going to be strong-willed, and they're going to have independent thoughts. And just because they're stronger physically, you know, they can always be the protector, but at the same time, I've taught my boys to do laundry, run the vacuum cleaner, and make their own mac and cheese, because I think that's important. Oh, and by the way, I'm now principal of that very same school that almost tried to make me quit when I was going to have a child. So life is kind of ironic. Now, fast forward to the beginning of this school year. Things were going quite well until I had 4 teachers come and tell me that they would not be able to start the school year. Guess why? They were going to be having babies. So I'm thinking, this kind of all comes back to me, the difficulties that I had. So I see that our role as women is to be supportive of other women, and I knew that these women were working hard, delivering babies, juggling families in so many ways. You know, a woman's work is a 15-hour day. They mix work and child care and community activism and being a wife. So I always tell the women at my school, you know, family comes first and job comes second. Well, back to the 4 young mothers. Everything's going well again. We've got the substitutes in place, and now they've come back to work. But they decided they wanted to continue nursing their babies. And so that was our next challenge. And I told them I admired their dedication. I thought that was important. So I challenged them to explore ways that I could help them do that. So we sort of have a human dairy at elementary school. And I did arrange their schedules so they would have the time they needed, the privacy they needed, and that it wouldn't affect any of the academic time for the students. And so these women would walk through hot coals for me. They know that I care, and I think that that's important, that as women we support each other and we assist each other when we can, and we do what's right. You know, women are very amazing. Our lives are very rarely a straight trajectory. Instead, we just sort of weave together an abundant existence from varied occurrences, I guess, that we experience. Some sociologists claim that women, because we are required to pay attention to so many things at one time, that we're multi-minded, and we have a great tolerance for interruption. And I can see that, because we all are very good multitaskers. Anyone who's tried to juggle a career and motherhood and education and a significant relationship and household management and self-growth knows that as women, we have to be able to do it all. But as we swing on this crazy trapeze of life, sometimes I think we need to weave a strong safety net for ourselves as well. Because sometimes the demands exceed our energy, and we have to support ourselves and find ways to continue to thrive. So to me, I look at the importance of having relationships. Because without relationships, I don't think we have that safety net that we need. Sometimes because we're so busy, though, we forget to nurture those relationships. So I would say to you as young women, never underestimate the importance of having close relationships in your life. Lucky for most of us, we have mothers or sisters or some other heart-held relationships that are pretty drought resistant, and we can thrive on just those bursts of concentrated love and attention. But if you really view nurturing relationships as more energy draining, as an energy draining obligation, I would ask you to change your perception and see that friendships can be that life-enhancing gift, that one that we can give and receive. And it's those friends many times that are there for us and can catch us when we fall. You know, there are many other support mechanisms for women, such as learning to understand and honor your needs, having realistic expectations, and asking for help when you need it. And last but not least, I think as women sometimes we need to learn to abolish guilt as we try to balance this life we live. And then finally, in closing, just one more thought. You know, as we do travel down this road and we try to juggle all of our roles and accept all the responsibility, I think it's very important that you hold tight to your beliefs, your religious beliefs, your spiritual beliefs, and that we align our thoughts and our emotions and our actions with the highest part of ourselves.